Alrighty. Hello, stream. Hello, YouTube recording afterward. Welcome back to week 4 or 5 of our Future Group Friday series. We have hopefully gone online now and just see if that's working properly, and then we'll go through our agenda for today, and then we'll get into it. This is not going to be too long of a stream, just because I got some other stuff going on. But nope, I can't find it. All right. Twitch says I'm offline. So that's good. Oh, there it goes. Okay. We're on. Okay. Really happy that I found the mute button so that I can not deafen everybody when I clear my throat. So the plan for today, we're going to start with our usual development updates from the last week. Make sure everyone's aware of the stuff that we're working on. Then we will switch over to all the candy posts that came in this week. We only had 6, which is fine. So we'll spend some time on those. That's the bulk of what we're going to be doing because the majority of my last week has been spent neck deep in joiner logs. And so I have a little treat at the end. We're going to go through some joiner logs together, see if we can figure out what was causing some of the problems that we were seeing. And I'll talk through what those problems are when we get to that. But unfortunately, not the most glamorous of weeks, because it's really just slogging through just thousands of lines of server log outputs to see what isn't quite doing what we think it should be doing. So I'll show you guys what it looks like on our end, what the joiner looks like from behind the scenes. Then we'll go through a couple logs together, see if we can find anything worth digging into. If we can, then we'll make a note of it and I'll try to fix it. And if not, then we'll call it there. I was about to segue from that into something. Oh yeah, right now on on production, the thing that everyone plays on. We do have a couple quick fixes that went in the last 3 days trying to address some bugs. We did find a larger one last night. That fix has not gone in yet as far as I'm aware. It will go in today at some point. So yeah, I guess that's as good a starting point as any. So from development updates, we're noticing, especially at the top, and this might be happening at all tiers, but definitely with tier 1 and 2 players, there will be a player who's waiting for 5 minutes, 10 minutes, 15, 20 sometimes minutes. A game will end with tier 1 and tier 2 players, and then another game will be created without that player who is just waiting X number of minutes. So the way it's set up, the player with the longest wait time should be getting priority into those games. We're not seeing them get into the game consistently. It's happening sometimes, which is the worst kind of bug, because it means that it's not every single time, so we can't find it with all of the logs that we have. But I do have some timestamps from yesterday. We went through and we were watching it pretty closely the entire day, and so we'll go to those timestamps in the logs and see if we can find something and go from there. So actual development updates from the last week. Forgot to scroll back. Sorry, give me 1 second. Today's the 29th, so we got back to the 22nd. Busy week. All right. So when we were on stream last week, the last thing that had happened was talking about ranked account deletion and merging. So just to reiterate that one, if you play ranked and you decide that you want to delete your account, which is, you're entitled to that, doing so does stop you from using any alternate accounts for the remainder of the season. So you can't just delete your account to get a free reset and start from the bottom and climb back up. If you could delete your account, you're done for the season. Same thing with merging your account away. Just because we've had a couple players kind of do that this season, it's disruptive at the bottom to get a top player all of a sudden in tier 7 lobbies. There's just no point in doing that. So that'll be in. We've got a fix related to the wait time. So this was a pretty big one. We found that wait time check that I was talking about, the players waiting for the longest, if they are the primary, which means that the game is trying to be built around them rather than them trying to be put into another game. When that happens, wait time was not being calculated properly. The way that time works on in JavaScript is it's all a timestamp relative to a time in 1970. I think it's January 1st or something like that. So basically, every time where you say right now it's 1:06 p.m. Eastern, that is a string of a bunch of numbers that just mean it's been this many milliseconds since 1970, and everything that happens time based is referencing that same point. What ad break? I didn't put an ad break. Hold on, sorry. Let me make sure my two viewers can actually see what I'm saying. If they, I didn't click ad break. I don't know what that. All right, just say let me know when you're back. So I'm still figuring out this Twitch thing. It kept asking me to like. It kept asking me to add like emotes and stuff for like people to redeem. I have no idea how any of that works, and now it's trying to tell me to like create goals for followers and subscribers and bits, and I don't know. I'm just here to stream some Tag Pro stuff. It's really not that deep. All right, they have 30 seconds left. Then we will continue for real with the stream. That's so rude. Okay, we're back. Sorry about that. I have no idea how or why that happened. I didn't click anything there. So anyway, as I was saying, time. The way that it works is everything that is a time is actually a reference to a previous time and how long has elapsed since that time. So the time that's used for JavaScript is 1970. I think it's January 1st. And every time that you have, so right now it's 1:07 p.m. Eastern, that is referenced as the number of milliseconds it has been since that date in 1970. And so what we're doing on the back end is saying what was the timestamp of when you joined the joiner. So you joined at, say, 1:08 p.m. Now, what time is it now? Now it's 1:12 p.m. We take the difference between those two timestamps, which gives you a number of milliseconds, and that's how long the player has been waiting. That's all pretty straightforward on the back end. We had a typo where we had one field that was supposed to reference the time that you had been waiting, but it was actually just the timestamp. So it was those bajillions of milliseconds since 1970 that you had been waiting, which is not how long you've been in the joiner, obviously. And so everybody was being considered as waiting the longest when it was not accurate. So we had a fix that went in for that on Sunday, I believe it was, and we did see some improvement from that. And that's what allowed us to find the bug that we're going to get into later today with players getting skipped and all of that. So that's what the first thing that was done in the last week was. It scrolled for me. That's rude. Where'd that go? Terribly sorry. There we go. Okay. So the wait time thing was in. We had a problem with ranked regions. So when you initialize a player who just entered the joiner, we were finding that if you sent a response to a server and the server didn't respond back to you, we create a fake server log just saying, okay, you have really high ping to this server, just so you know it's a server that exists, but it's not one that you're going to want to connect to. But if that was a ranked server, we were not including the ranked field properly, so there was some potential for a bug there. It's fixed now. We're not sure it was actually the source of anything, but it was wrong, so that's fixed. We added some changes to the joiner page that I'm going to show you guys in a bit to let us see when somebody is or is not being ignored because they were just sent to a game. You'll see what that means later. Then we had the whole week has been trying to figure out why games aren't being created the way that we want, pretty much. Sorry, just back and forth here. We have something coming in for the next release related to the map test committee, giving them more information about maps. I think I've mentioned that in the past. We have some more data being displayed in replay files so that you can see if you have a script or something you want to see what the skill score was between each team on the replay. That's going to be shown, and also adding the player data, ranked player data, to the profiles page. So just so you see what that is, if you go to your profile on Tag Pro and you add an S to the URL, you're going to see something that looks like this. We're basically adding your ranked data to this field. So this is the page that a lot of scripts use to display different information about players. It's all public facing. There's nothing private here. We are adding in the ranked data here, so you can use scripts to pull player data for ranked. So that'll be in the next release. We've got we finalized the last game toggle. I forget if we talked about this on stream or not. A button that says I'm in a game right now, but I'm going to stop playing after this game, which will help with players who were waiting for you, because right now the joiner just assumes everybody in a game is going to come back into the joiner. But if that's not the case, we don't want to have players waiting for you to come back just for you to not actually play the next game. So that's going to happen, and it'll kick you back to the home page so you don't forget, because I don't know, it's probably not just me where you're going to game, you're like, okay, this is my last game, and the game ends and you're not paying attention and you get put into another one. You're like, I was done, but you had to play another one. So that'll fix that for players, which is good. We've got more wait time stuff. We added a bunch of logging in to get more details. We're going to go through that log later. More of the same. Sorry, it's not like concise here. I'm just looking at the stream of things as they came in. More logging. Logging. Jeez, did I really? Oh, wow. I didn't realize how many things we pushed to try to adjust this. Yeah, okay. The other thing that we found that will be fixed later today was there is a default wait. So when you enter the joiner, you have, say, 5 seconds before it will actually put you into a game, just so players can change their selections if they wanted to, click exit if they didn't mean to go there, stuff like that, rather than getting immediately sucked into whatever you had selected the last time that you joined. We've realized, though, that check was not present for every single thing that you could be sent to. So it was present for ranked games, it was present for casual games, it was present for mini games, all that stuff, but it was not present for when you are filling a game that is missing a player. So if there's a player with 8 going on, one person leaves, so now it's a 3v4, the game goes to the joiner and says, hey, I need a replacement for that player who just left, can you send me one? And the joiner says, okay, I got somebody here, sends him over, and you fill in that game. The problem is that we didn't have any delay associated with that, so that players who had ranked and casual selected were getting out of a ranked game, and then if there was a 4v3 going on, they were immediately getting sucked into that casual game. The problem with that is if there were 8 players there who wanted to play ranked again, it should be prioritizing the ranked game over the casual game with those 8 players. So when that player gets sucked in immediately to the casual game, they're then ineligible for the match while they're joining, because you can't pull people out when they're in that in-between state. And that was leading to the wrong matches being generated, because if you had a tier 1 player who finished a ranked game, got sucked into a casual, but there was a tier 2 player to take their spot still in the joiner, it would create that mixed tier 1 and tier 2 game, send them to ranked, and then you'd have the tier 1 player who was supposed to be in it not actually getting a game. And that was causing some synchronous issues. Synchronicity? You know what I mean. Some issues with synchronization because you would have players who were supposed to be together creating their own matches separately, and that's why tier 1 players aren't noticing that they're getting grouped together as often as they're supposed to be. So that was a long-winded sentence. It's going to get worse because that's just how joiner logs work. They suck. It's a lot of detail. So we're going to get away from that for a little bit, talk through the candy post for the week, and then we will get to the joiner stuff. If you have any questions about anything I just said, feel free to drop them in the chat. Otherwise, I am going to keep going. So, last things that we did last Friday, we responded to 2 different posts about updating and matchmaking. Both of these are pretty much ready to go. We're just waiting on a couple other things related to inactive players. We talked about that because we built the spec 2 weeks ago for quantifying when a player is actually going to be marked as inactive. So that should be in soon. And then that will allow us to get to the tier expansion and contraction branch that we had worked on that same week. So both of those should hopefully be in a good spot in the next week or two. But coming in since that meeting, we have a request for co-leaders for Tag Pro groups. It would be nice if leaders could assign co-leaders to a Tag Pro group. Leave it to your imagination to decide on the powers a co-leader should have. So I don't have anything against this. I know there is a bug that some people might be aware of. I think we patched it. I'm not sure that we patched every possible case, but we definitely patched the big one where you could have 2 group leaders by accident. And for some players that was fine because they could both change the group settings and whatever. Sometimes it was used to abuse the group settings and to mess up the group, so we shut that down. This is just asking for that to be re-added, but as a feature, not as a bug, so that it can be selected in the future, which I think is fine. My only real holdup with this is how do you decide who has priority? Like say you add somebody as a group leader, does that group leader have the ability to remove the other group leader's group lead? Is that good? Is that bad? That's the only thing I'm really caught on. Having 2 players who can change the settings seems fine. I don't have a problem with that. I think my gut reaction would be that instead of having 2 group leaders, you would still just have 1 group leader, but you would allow them to grant permission to certain players to also make edits and whatnot, which could be presented as a group leader on the front end, but it wouldn't come with the ability to remove the original group leader. I'm thinking about things like competitive games where you have 2 different teams, 2 different captains. Occasionally you'll get issues where one team is trying to delay and that team has the group lead, so they can't launch. I think this could be a really good use case for the request where you can say, okay, both captains have the ability to launch. If it has been the 3 minutes that are required between games, either team can launch it and there's nothing the other team can do about it. That will kind of force teams to be honest about their wait times. Past that, you wouldn't want them to be able to remove the leader of the other. Remove the other leader's leader status. All right, I'm going to write this down. We'll see what we end up doing with it, but I think this is a valid request. So allow multiple players to edit group settings. Relevant Canny post. Having 2 leaders and both have to say they're ready before starting. That is also interesting. That's closer to a different feature request that we have in. Let me pull it up real quick. So this check here was submitted by somebody else on Canny, where it's saying add a ready check to private groups. So rather than allowing the group leader to be the only one who decides when a game launches, you can have players mark their status as ready. And if all the players who are in the game, do we have that? Actually, let me read this before I talk too much. Oh, no, that's different. Okay, this was just a front-end display for players to mark themselves as ready. I don't know if we had any automatic launching from that. So the problem with the 2 leader thing is you're back to the can they remove the other leader, because if one leader says I want to launch and the other says I don't, they could just remove the leader status of that one and then launch anyway. Which, I don't know. Can you have like 3 leaders and then it's a majority? I don't know. I feel like there are more places for that to go wrong. I don't know. I don't have a good answer to that. Let's just get this in and then we'll look at it a little more. What's the name of this? Co-leaders. Sorry, I can't find the... there it is. Can he post? Okay. So I think what I'm gonna do is in private groups. I should we need a different name for the second leader or leaders. Like what? Shoot, do you allow multiple people to have it? Can you have like 5 co-leads? Can you make everybody a group lead? I just feel like that's gonna cause chaos, but then just players won't use it that way because it's bad. Allow the group leader to designate as many other players as they choose. Co-leader via the so right now if you're in a private group and you click on another player's name, you get a little drop down if you're the group leader where it says mute player, kick player. That might be it. So just add another and make leader. That's the other one. So just add an option that says make co-leader beneath make leader. Just because you have to have that centralized, this person is in charge, and the co-leaders can do whatever they want, but they can't add or remove other co-leaders. I think that's the way. Yeah, settings editor, like something like that. Yeah, we can do better than co-leader. It needs to be concise is the problem, because you think about how much width do we have in that group box. You only have about a word and a half worth of characters. Co-leader, make manager, like you just create a whole new name for it. Do you make something else and say this is a thing that can do everything except for kick players or whatever? Like what permissions do they have? Like there are just too many. Like people are gonna want such specific things for this. Let's see what the request is for. Leave it to my imagination. Well, I'm not having fun with my imagination right now. I'm really my imagination is telling me this is a bad idea. Allow the group leader to designate as many other players as they choose. Co-leader. I'll just say name TBD. Via the kick player drop down. Any players with the co-leader mission can make edits to the game settings and or launch. The only permission. Can they kick players? I guess they probably should be able to kick players. I think the only thing they can't do is make more group leaders. Yeah. Did it just start another ad? I just got a pop-up. It says pre-roll ads are disabled for 45 minutes. And I got that same pop-up right before you got the ad the first time. Please tell me you didn't get an ad. All right. So any players with co-leader permission can make edits to the game settings and or launch the game. The only permissions... Say, okay, 15 seconds that time. That's so obnoxious. They just put ads on my stream. Not cool. I didn't sign off on that. If there's a way to disable it, let me know. I'll do that. All right, the only permissions not granted to a co-leader are the permission to grant other users co-leader and the permission to kick the group leader. Can they kick other co-leaders? I would lean toward no. I'm gonna go with no for now.
we've got a spammer in our chat here. Get out of here.
No feels fine, or else it's a power struggle. Yeah, and the problem is with groups, it's such a definitive thing. Like if you get kicked from a group, there's no way to unban you from that group. Like you can never join it again. If you want those players back together, you need to create a whole new group, which is a pain. So I'm gonna go with what you're saying. I don't think it's worth it to allow them to do that. So let's just review this. You have the group leader who's in charge of everything. They can designate as many co-leaders as they want. Those co-leaders can do everything the group leader can, but they cannot kick the group leader, and they cannot kick each other, and they cannot give somebody else permission. So that person's still in charge of who does and does not have co-leader. Yeah, I guess if it becomes that problem, like it wouldn't be something you can use in an open setting. It would have to be all these people, and they're not going to do anything dumb, and then you're happy giving them that permission. With just a little bit of a check and balance, I guess. The other thing, they have to be able to remove it. Can revoke co-leader status at any time. And then if the group leader leaves, the lead is passed randomly to a co-leader instead of randomly to anyone in the group. I think that's good enough for me. Just because most often you're just going to have one other person. It'll just pass it to that person. I think that's safe enough. Any edge cases we're forgetting about here? I think this would work for leagues. I think this would work fine for like map testing and stuff. Yeah, all the stuff that you're mentioning there, the save, analytics, self-assignment, all that is to the group, not to the group leader. So they could all edit it. We might need to add chat messages. That's a good point, because you'll want to know if somebody else made those changes. And I think that some of those changes are silent right now, where just that they changed because you're the one who clicked them. Interesting. I guess it would be better to log that they changed for any non-visible settings changes, e.g. Save analytics. So I don't think that button does anything when you click. Actually, I'm going to just pull up a group real quick and confirm that. If I have a private group and I click on, oh no, it's a checkbox. No, you can see that. Yeah, because it'll be unchecked for everybody else too. So that's fine. We'll need to make sure that gets emitted out properly so the other group leaders can see that it changed. But I think as long as they can see that a change happened, that's fine. They'll figure it out. So ensure checkbox changes are emitted out to other group leaders. So they reflect the current state of the group. E.g. save analytics. Okay. Yeah, that makes sense to me. Let's mark that as an enhancement. And send that off. Okay. So now we've got ticket has been internally to allow a group leader to designate co-leaders who will be able to edit group settings. And then I prepped for the stream this week. I did a lot of stream prep because I have that message ready to go. So that's good there. And we're good. Okay, next. Literally cannot get a game. Oh, this is okay. We already talked to BBB about this. We're working on this today. I'm going to close this because he submitted it in like 15 locations. Tilted map special event. You have my attention, T-Rex. A new special event game mode for Tag Pro inspired by the classic game Super Monkey Ball. Unfortunately, I'm only vaguely familiar with that game. Involve players trying to navigate a map that is tilting, requiring precise movement and teamwork. Okay, I see what they're going for. Unfortunately, we are a very decidedly two-dimensional physics engine right now. I'm trying to think of a way to like simulate the map tilting. I'm not coming up with anything right off the top of my head. I think that having an obstacle course with things like gravity wells and all that, totally doable. I can't think of a way that the floor would be left, right tilting, but still 2D. Yeah, I mean, the problem is that we could render the map and make it look like it's tipping, but we don't have any way of generating the physics that would pull your ball downhill as the map tilts. Like, it's a cool concept. Yeah, I don't see this being viable, unfortunately. Like the closest thing that we have, I'm thinking back to like the April Fool's map, where like we had maps rotating while players were on them. But think about what is that rotation? It's still keeping that two-dimensional map. It's just rotating where all of the elements are. And so we could do that, and that might be kind of close to what they're saying. But you mentioned, does existing gravity not handle that? I don't think that it does. I'd have to look at. I don't really know how gravity works, which is a weird thing to say out loud. Is it pulling players toward the bottom of the screen? Is it pulling them toward a reference point that's like the lowest wall? I'm not sure. If it's a reference point, I guess what you would be doing is changing where down is, because this is how it hurts my head. Because you think about, you have your 2D map. Get this in frame here. You have your 2D map, and when there's no gravity, everybody moves around on it. When there is gravity, you're pulled down toward the bottom. So if you were going to say the map is tilting, you can't have gravity be down here, because if you tilt this way, gravity, like, it needs to be underneath the map versus, I guess, behind the map instead of underneath the map. Because right now you have a map here and everything's pulled down below where the map is. If the map is here, gravity would need to move with, like, do you see what I'm saying? Like, it would need to be underneath it instead of being in line with the plane that the map is on. I don't know if that's making any sense. You're tilting it different than I'm thinking of tilting based on that hand movement. More of a hand wave tilting? Like, you mean like rotating the whole map side to side? Is that what you mean? Okay, I mean that's rotation, not tilting, which is, I think that would work maybe. 'Cause, again, and going back to the April Fool's event where things are rotating, everything's rotating together. You would just change the rotation back in the other direction. And that would allow you to oscillate. Okay, I see where you're going with that. So let's read this a little closer now. Navigate a map that is actively tilting, requiring precise movement and teamwork. So it would be a gravity map where you're jumping, but as you are jumping, the map is rotating underneath you in certain ways. I think, okay, I'm with you on it now. I can see that working. So I won't toss this out because that is doable. So I think the part where I got confused, I was trying to apply gravity mechanics to non-gravity game modes where you have a map that doesn't actually have gravity other than the ball being on the flat map. But we're saying this is with gravity, the map moves around you. That I can work with. how to summarize is a different challenge. I think for this one, I'm going to have to go to Discord, and I can't display this. But we have a thread of event ideas. I'm going to just make a note of this event idea here. Well, let's type it up together so we can get the wording right. Oops. Can I not show that? What? Hold on. Okay, let's bring this over here. So we're saying that tilted map special event is the suggestion. This is the irrelevant canny post. And we're saying that using gravity settings in combination with the April Fool's 2016 event with rotating maps, create an obstacle course for players to navigate as the map moves around them. I think we'll keep it vague because it would have to be dependent on what the map looks like, and that would kind of change how it looks. And then yeah, let's see what else he said here. So objective remains grab the flag and bring it back to your base. Suggestion notes that I don't know if I agree with that. Like, is that better than having it be like the Easter map where you're trying to get to the end of a course? Goal should still be CTF. Might also work similar to the Easter event though. So that obstacles, that's a given. Controls, shifting gravity. So a single player can be responsible for controlling the map's angle using keyboard keys or mouse movements. I just don't know how you would designate a player for that. I don't know. We'll leave that to the dev to figure out if this comes up later. I think that's a good enough summary for now. Yeah, we could just use gravity wells to make that effect. Okay, I think that's fine enough short summary. This is the kind of thing that we would have a full meeting and talk about the pros and cons and how to implement it and all that. So that's a good enough starting point for that to go underway. This is going to be under review because I can't say that it's going to happen, but it's definitely something we'll talk about. Will be discussed at the next event focused meeting. The problem right now with events is that I put them on hold while we work on all the ranked stuff. Well, the big three, frankly. I want to get the rank done, I want to get the shop done, and I want to get Steam done. Once all three of those are good to go, then we'll go back to an event schedule. It just takes a lot of dev time to put those together, and the game needs some more long-term stuff right now to not die. So once that stuff's done, then yes, we can go back to the short-term, having fun events and all that. Cool. All right, moving on. Spectating control buttons legend. So two things. Bash answered the first part. There is a little thing you can click that tells you. We do have a thing going on right now, though, trying to improve the replay tab. Let me see if I can find that. So right now there are a lot of buttons you can click that do a lot of different things when you are watching a game and while you are spectating a replay. And somebody on the Future group was making a montage recently, and they were mentioning that it's really hard to remember what all the different buttons do, and just a bit of a pain, frankly. So we are talking about where can we show all the different options that you have aside from just that pre-game chat message with the quick summary, so that you can just quickly glance over during a game and know what button will do what thing to that game. I think this is it. Nope, that's not it. There it is. Oh, sorry. I'm gonna show you guys this in a second. I'm just trying to pull it up properly. Yeah, it's nothing fun to show you. It's just really just like a 2-second. Add hotkeys. It's cumbersome. Add a pull-out tab on the right side. So basically, if you're in a replay right now, let me pull up a replay so you can see what I'm talking about. If you're in a replay, you've got your top bar with all your stuff here. This is the question block that Bash was talking about. It'll tell you what you need to click if you want to do different things. But instead of having it just be hidden under this question mark, we could just add a right-sided pull-out tab and just say, okay, hover over this, and it'll tell you all the options that you have to click on. Because on my screen, lots of space looks like nice and easy to just add stuff on the side or whatever. But for some players, it looks like this, and you don't really have that same freedom to add stuff in. So if we just added another tab just like this on the right side, that when it popped out, it said, these are the buttons that you can press, and this is what they do. I think that would be inobtrusive enough that it can work for anybody who wants to use it. So that's the current plan for that. So I'm going to say this is planned, and I'll add this ticket to the to this ticket here. Sorry, I have too many tabs open. I'm losing track of my spectating control. Relevant candy post. Boom. Okay, and we'll say this is planned. Current plan is to add a summary to the replays tab. Oh, they want it while spectating. Shoot. We don't have that while spectating. Oh no. I look like an idiot. Ad break again? Unbelievable. That's so dumb. I lost 2 viewers to that. I don't want ads. Stop putting ads on my stream. Man. Ad manager settings. See if I can. How many minutes? Oh, wait, hold on. Ad manager. No. Okay, just. That's so obnoxious. Okay, I just deselected the thing that plays ads. Well, I don't know if it works midstream, but okay, sorry about that. Not ideal. So the problem with this is this player wants this while they are spectating a game. We do send that pre-game chat message. When joining a game to spectate, there is a log, or there's a message summarizing the controls for that game. Current plan is to add a summary to the replays tab on the right side to view all options available under the question mark bash mentioned. I feel like it's not a good response, but it's kind of all I got right now, so we're gonna go with it. Ranked games chart. I already enjoy the replay feature, helping keep track of my ranked games. It might be worthwhile to have a game tracker chart to rank somewhere. Kind of like the old Ranked Pugs one, stylized like the map chart. Help me out with this one, guys. I'm not really sure what this is going for. Game tracker chart. Is that like the old TPM thing where it's like a line graph that says that your elo has gone up or whatever that they had on that? Or is that more like what is 10, 100, 300 total? What does that mean? Help keep track of my ranked games. A game tracker chart. Yeah, okay, I think we're on the same page. I think it's to do with your skill score. The good news is we are planning to do that. It's actually in progress right now. Trying to remember if there's a ticket open for it or not that I can pull up. I think it's game history. Let me see what I can find real quick. So right now the plan is at the end of a season, or actually during seasons 2, to show a bar that says that this is how you've been doing this season, and then you can go back and you can see old seasons to see where you ended up and all that. Now, game history is a different thing. Shoot. I know we had something like this where it's showing how you've progressed, but I don't see it here. Oh, wait. Aha. Aha. All right. Got it. So, ranked progression chart on profile. We're saying that players should be able to see their skill progression on the profile page. Trend lines should be colored in the tier color. We haven't put out the tier 1 color yet, but it's going to be different than the tier 2 color. Tier boundary lines, yeah, so you can see. Okay, so that's planned. I guess we have a different candy post that asked for something similar too. I guess I'm just going to merge this into that one then. Show ranked win rate. Are these the same thing? Do we think they're the same thing, or do we think they're different things? It would be cool to see one's ranked win rate for other players when you go to their profile. I feel like this one is more detailed than this one is. That's okay. It'll show up on that one. So I keep flashing between dark and light pages. Show ranked win rate. Yes. Unless you just want to just make it improved rank stats visual. Yeah, I mean I think it's gonna cover the same thing in the end. Let's keep moving here. Player queues show all. Perhaps once in joiner, say ranked, and there is an extended wait. If the casual queue was visually showing how many in that joiner, a player might choose to jump into casual. Players could just click back on home page, then click play now. I don't know what this is asking. I'll be honest. Yeah, my first thought is that this is what we do already, where if you hover over casual, and hopefully I don't get pulled into a game while I'm, oops, you weren't supposed to see that. Hopefully I don't get pulled into a game while I'm displaying this, but if you go to ranked, you hover over this, it tells you how many players are in those games. So I feel like that's covered already. Huh. Yeah, I think this is already a thing. So I'm going to say feature is already implemented while queued for ranked, hovering over the casual option on the left side of your screen will allow you to see the number of players in casual games and the number of players waiting for a casual game. Click the checkbox to opt into playing casual while you wait. Okay. Yeah. All right. So that covers all of our candy posts from the last week. At some point, we're probably going to go back through this list and go through some of the under review ones, find a couple of things that we didn't respond to and all that. This week, though, we're going to go to the joiner like I promised. So preface on what is about to happen. It's going to be weird because none of you have seen joiner logs before. So I have two different things. We're going to show something that why Lambda once teased way back in like 2018 or 19, where the original Single joiner was up. So it's a page that we have on the back end that shows you all the players currently in matchmaking and then the games that are going on there. So we're going to look at that for a minute just to kind of set the scene. And then I have a joiner log that I have gone through and removed all sensitive information from. So it's really just the hard data that we need. And we're going to go through that and see if we can find why some of the bugs that we were noticing yesterday were actually happening. If that gets boring, I'm sorry. This is kind of what I've spent the last 72 hours on. So it's not the most glamorous thing that we do here at Tag Pro, but it's a necessary evil to get done. So let's start with the joiner, just so you can see what that looks like. I'll bring that over here. So a lot going on right now. We can see the number of games that are active, the number of players who are in those games or who want to be getting into a game soon. We have a bunch of different highlighting things explaining what the status of different players is. And we have wait time. So you can see right now the longest wait time is currently Nameless. He's been waiting for almost 12 minutes. He is in tier 1-3, so he's in the contender tier at the top, which means that he should be getting into a game somewhat soon if there are enough tier 1 and tier 2 players online. For active games right now, there's only one active ranked game going on, and that ranked game has tiers 3, 4, and 5 in it, so Nameless is probably not going to get into a game right now until you get 8 players online between tiers 1 and 4. So just to show you what we look for Nameless 1-3. Who else is in the joiner right now? You have Gspoon 4-3, you have XCV 2-3, MostDev Pen 15. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 players who are currently eligible for a game with Nameless. So he's not going to get into a game right now, no matter how long he waits, because there's no players to play a game with. So we need to wait for more players to come online, and that's when he would be able to get a game. There is a game going on right now with tier 3 and 4 players. So what's currently happening is the joiner looks at everyone who's available, says, okay, he can't get a game right now. Then it looks at all the games that are happening, and it says, okay, in that game, there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 players who he could be matched with. So he's currently waiting for this game to end, and then in theory, he will get put into the next game. In practice, he probably will not get put into that game because it's such a skewed skill distribution. He is the only tier 1 player online. It's more likely that the joiner will not make that game because it's just not going to be a good game. It might be like a 70-30 win rate chance. So it's more likely that he gets skipped for that next game until more tier 1 and tier 2 players log on. So that's expected behavior. That's fine. But this is what is happening. This is generating the logs that we're about to switch over to in a minute. So what happened yesterday, just to summarize what we were seeing, was... gosh, I got to scroll for a second. Sorry. Okay. At 4:33 p.m. Eastern, we had a lot of players online and only one active game going. A lot of the players online were tiers 1 and 2. So sorry, it's a screenshot on my phone, so I can't show you guys. But in the joiner, between tiers 1 and 4, and I should mention the reason I'm talking about tier 1 through 4 is because of the tier tolerances that we have set up. So a tier 1 player will never get matched with anybody below tier 4. It's just not possible. That's a decision that we made just because the quality of the games matters. Doesn't matter how low population we are, there should not be a game with a top player. Think, okay, then getting matched with a tier 5 player. It's just never going to be a fair matchup no matter what the teams are at that point. So at that time yesterday, 4:33 p.m., we had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13 players between tiers 1 and 4, and they were not getting placed into a game. Now, this would be expected behavior if there was an active game going with tier 1 and tier 2 players, because then the players at the top would be stuck waiting for that game to end so that they could be on the same cycle playing together for the rest of their time together. But the game that was going on was only tiers 3 through 5. So there should have been no reason for the top players to be waiting for that game. Again, 13 or 14 players waiting. That should just create a game. So what we're going to do now is switch over to some very ugly logs, and we're going to try to figure out why a game was not being created based on these logs. And so I have the timestamp. It's 4:33 p.m. and you'll see what I'm looking at in a second. The logs are 4 hours ahead of Eastern. So if it was 16:33, that's going to be 20:33 on the logs. Okay. So we have to go a couple minutes before that to see what's going on. Holy moly. Yeah, this might not be fun. I'm sorry, guys. This might be really, really hard to look at. But this is an example output of a joiner log. It doesn't usually look this ugly. I added some extra logging in to figure out what's going on here. So even though tier 3-4 players are in the game, they aren't put in the same cycle because not the entire game is tier 1 through 4. So I think the answer to your question is that you don't ever wait for players in a better tier than your own. You only wait for players in worse tiers than your own. I think my stream's buffering. Oh gosh. Did I just kill it by opening the spreadsheet? I might have done that. Let me close this. Is the stream still live there? Sorry, I don't want to talk a bunch if it's not going to actually come through for a second. I'm closing as much stuff as I can. Yeah, my bitrate just got nuked. Okay. Yeah, it's a large Google sheet, unfortunately. So to answer your question, you only wait for players in tiers below your tier. So if you are tier 1, it will look to see, are there 8 tier 1 players online? If yes, it'll create that game and go. If there are only, say, 6 online, but there are 2 who are currently playing in a game, it's going to have those 6 players wait for those 2, put them all together, and make a game with them going on. If there are not 8 online at all, so say there are only 4 in the queue, there are none in a game, it's going to say, okay, next up, tier 2. How many tier 2 players are waiting for a game? If there are enough not in the game to create one, it'll go. If it needs to wait for a game to end, it will wait for that game to end. And it is a little bit more nuanced than that. It gets into things like 16 players in a combination of tiers, where if you exceed a certain number of players, there's no reason to wait. You can just go. But if there are 2 games going, you want to have those players shuffling together. You don't want to have 2 isolated games of 8 that keep getting put together. You want to get those 16 players mixed between each game, so it'll have them wait for each other, so that there's actually a shuffling of the players in those games. And so that is why waiting happens. But in these cases, there should not have been a wait based on what we expect to happen. And so we want to figure out why. So just to summarize, for the players that we have, I'm just going to write it down here for a visual. I'm getting red on the bit rate. I'm sorry. Hopefully my audio is coming through okay, if nothing else. For the players that we had 2-3. We had 1-3. And I should write their names down here. We had AJ here. We had Freak here. We had another 1-3. Oops. In Junoon. We had a 4-3 in Fleet. We had a 2-3 in XCV. We had a 4-2 in CBAD. We had a 4-2 in Pen 15. We had a 1-3 in Meowza. Whoops. We had a 3-3 in Carl. We had a 4-2 in Caroline. 4-3 in the Bhutan. I don't know how to say that. Bhutan. And we had a 2-3 in your very own Cheese Doodle. So, looking at these logs here, you have 1, 2, 3 players in tier 1, 1, 2, 3 players in tier 2, so you're up to 6 players. It'll go down to tier 3 next. And it'll find a 7th player, and then down to tier 4 for an 8th player. So, because there was a game ongoing, now we just have to check. This game was not created because... Okay, actually, this game not being created makes sense, because in the game, you had 3-2, 5-2, 3-3, 4-3, 5-2, 3-2, 4-2, 4-2. So what happened here was you found 1, 2, 3 players, 4, 5, 6 players, 7 players, and to get to 8, it found that there were players in a game who it would have to wait for. So this was waiting for this game to end to get that 8th player and put them in. Rather than pulling a tier 4 player up, it wanted to have the tier 3 player in that game with them. So that makes sense. That's good behavior. So actually, it's good that that game was not created. That was not the only example. We have a lot more, so we're going to move on to a different one. But I should mention while we're here that what I noticed was all these players were waiting for this game to end, and then this game ended, and then players who were here got put into a game without these players. And so that was 2 different bugs happening. One ended up not being a bug. As we can see here, it was good that they were waiting. But none of these players actually got into this game when they got there, and that is a problem. And that problem was because of what I mentioned at the start of the stream, that hopefully the fix is going in today. We had players who were just finishing a game but had casual and ranked selected, were getting sucked into a fill game. So there was a game that was a 4v3. They got out, they got pulled into that game, and then they were not eligible for ranked matchmaking because they were joining a different game. So we have a fix in for that today. That should go up soon. So that's nothing. Okay, let's move on to a different one. So at 437, we have Freak, who we can see right here. Oh, wait, Freak didn't get in to that game? Aha! Okay, so that's a problem. So the joiner decided that Tier 1 didn't have enough players, and it made a mixed Tier 3 and 4 game. But then, later on, a game was created with Tier 1 players, but Freak was not included in that game. So we have to go down to 437. Oh boy, this might kill the stream, sorry. 37 is down. Holy moly. I didn't pull enough logs for this. Are you kidding me? All right, I need to do some editing. This isn't going to work because I did a lot of time to clean these logs up, and I don't have clean logs to show. Oh, man. Well, I tried. That's a bummer. Oh, I have an earlier one at 2:16. Let's see if we have that log. (2016). Okay. So this one was different. This was Prow not getting in when he should have gotten in over a different player in the same tier. So let's find this real quick. It was at 2015 ET. Prow should have gotten into a game and did not get into that game. So we need to find the log where the game was actually created, which is hopefully somewhere. Hello? There should be a line highlighted orange here that's going to tell us that a game tried to be created, and it's not here. So that's confusing. What? Create new match. It should. No, there was a game created at 2. Oh my goodness. This is what it's like. It's literally just me sitting at a computer doing this for hours. It's terrible. Okay, here we go. 2:10, a game is created, and then 2:20. So there was no game created according to the logs. I'm looking at the game. I have. Oh my goodness. Okay, I know that Vader was in this game, so we're going to follow Vader and see if maybe that will be the answer that we need. Let me pull up Vader's account ID real quick. All right, we know that Vader got into this game, so if we look up Vader's account ID, it should pop up with something here. And we know this game was created at 2:16, which means 14. Oh, I'm on the wrong hour. That's why. Idiot. So this logs, these are 4 hours ahead of Eastern. This happened at 2:16 Eastern. That's 14:16. Which is 18:16, not 2016. Did I go back that far in the logs? No, of course I didn't. Of course I didn't. That's great. That's really awesome. Good job. So what do we have? I have 20 to 20:30. So I have a half hour, This is a half hour. My God. Which is at 4 p.m. So what happened at 4 p.m.? Okay. Nothing happened at 4 p.m. Sick. All right. I got nothing. I have stuff that happened right before this and stuff that happened right after this, but I don't have anything that happened during the logs that I actually have here. So that was really well done on my part. I'm sorry, guys. That's really disappointing. I'm trying to think if there's an easy way to get out of this, but I had to manually remove a bunch of stuff here. And I don't want to rush through that and accidentally miss anything that's important to remove. So, yep. All right. Cancel that. Let's see if I can find something else to do instead from a ticket standpoint. Man, that stinks. All right. Let's just go through some more of these guys then. I'll go back to some older stuff. Oh man, you can do all you want for prep. Yeah. Oh well. Talked about that once already. Talked about that already. What was sensitive on that page? There was nothing sensitive on that page. I removed anything that was sensitive. On that page, it usually will have things like your IP address listed, because with some balls, that's what we have to keep track of them. And it would have like ping data, so you could see like which servers you had what ping to, which could technically be used to geolocate somebody within a certain radius. Just anything that was potentially sensitive, I axed all of it because I don't want to risk anything there. It's not like it has like your email address or anything like that. There's nothing to that degree, but yeah. And I'm really bummed. I was looking forward to that, and now I got nothing. Man. All right. I think I said I was going to look into this and then didn't. Choose a reserve name. Nah. All right, I'm going to be honest. This has killed my motivation entirely. I've lost my entire drive for this stream because I was really excited to go through that, and now I can't. So I'm probably going to call it just because I'm going to go sulk. I'm going to eat a bagel and sulk. That's my plan. Hopefully somebody else has a plan as well. I'm going to look into the ad thing to make sure that stops happening midstream. And by next week, I will have a better plan for what we do. But thank you for those who did tune in. Sorry it was a little underwhelming. And I will talk to you. Oh, one question before I sign off. Log aggregation deal. Elaborate on that for me. What do you mean by deal? Like a thing that you can show anybody, or a thing that, or like a way to make it clean right away for me to show on stream? Those are my two interpretations of that sentence. Ready to go, Grant? Come back. Oh yeah. That would be lovely. Unfortunately, this server log thing is a pretty new thing that we have to dig through. It's not usually this many lines. Most of the logging is just filler stuff from some extra logging that I added. I agree that it'd be nice. The end goal is that we don't have to do this very often. So, yeah, I'll see if Bash knows anything more about that. But, yeah, I don't know. Sorry. I was super bummed about this. So I will... I'll talk to Bash about that, see what the possibilities are, because I agree it would be nice to have some more filtering. But the problem is I have to look at like exact timestamps and know against the code where that is. So I don't know. We'll see what happens. But yeah, I'll be back next week. We'll have something more established, maybe a different spec that we can work through, and we'll go from there. But thanks everyone for tuning in. I will see you later.